this actual bike was made for the Cross Nationals in 1994. Got to go way back. And so we actually call it a 95 version because we had it ready and we prototyped it there at Nationals. But some of the big technology changes are, used to be 1 inch, which looks so skinny now. Now it's all 1 1/8 and tapered. But we were one of the first to have a head. We really liked the clamp-on stems. We worked together on this frame set with Control Tech at the time, and they did the welding, and then we sourced the fork. The big breakthrough was the aluminum fork at the time. Cannondale had a nice TIG welded frame, but they were going with a steel fork, and we were trying to get a little more weight off, and so we sourced the fork. The other part that was kind of unique along with a head and the fork was that our cable routing, even back in 1994, we were trying to get all the cables off of the down tube so that when you went to grab it, you had no cables in your hand. So all of our cables were running on the top tube, and believe it or not, we were going top pole back in 94, and the derailleurs we were using were mountain bike derailleurs because they had the right curve for smaller chain rings. We were actually pushing 3646 chain rings back in 94. But as you recall, most crank makers didn't come through with cranks that were that style until about, 2002, 2003, I want to say, with the FSA compact cranks. The technology was aluminum, lightweight aluminum then, and of course today we've gone with carbon fiber. But overall, the geometry didn't change that much. Our angles are fairly similar. The one thing that has changed in 20 years is carbon fiber allowed us to go a little bit tighter on the rear end because the carbon fiber is more forgiving than aluminum. And so we were at about 435 centimeters on the chainstay length, and today very close to 420. So really have brought that rear wheel in quite a bit from what it was originally. The other part is the carbon fiber forks now, they are tapered, they're much stiffer, and they ride great. Now, today we're going through axle on the forks, so it stiffened them up even more. But this was a huge improvement back in '94 from the Elans and other aluminum bikes that existed that kind of had forks that were known to be almost kind of pepperoni, kind of spaghetti. They were pretty soft, and they really did a number on vibrating, especially with cantilever brakes that weren't set up very well. So those are some of the big changes. If we look over 20 years to see carbon, aluminum versus carbon, the rear end getting tighter, and then the big improvements in the forks. Obviously, cable routing is different. Now we're internal, so again, we don't have cables showing, and we're disc brake compatible, now fully disc this year. Last year we still had canty posts one last time, but it's all gone over to disc brakes now. The shorter rear end is amazing what it does for cornering. And cyclocross has become what I call turn and burn now. It's not as wild as it was in the early days, what we called jungle cross back in the 90s. Courses were a little bit longer, a little more rugged. They were more mountain bikey back in the 90s. Today, ever since the Super Cups from say 98, 99, and the rule changes from the UCI in 2000, the way the courses got changed and the elimination of some of the barriers, it made all of the racing tighter and closer. They wanted the racing to be that way. And ever since then, the focus on cornering has been tremendous. Whereas back in the old days, to have a frame that would really hold up well under rugged conditions, that longer chainstay would do that, and also to descend better. We don't descend as crazy stuff as we did back then, and we're certainly doing tighter 180s on a lot of the courses now. And so lower bottom bracket, along with that tighter rear end, makes a bike handle a lot faster. And that is a real key today, because cyclocross today is all about acceleration out of every corner. So that's been the biggest change.